Hi, this is a .NET Core Basic Tutorial Part 5, and today I'm going to show you how to create an API and how to use it in your web application to fetch data from the database. And this is your database, and this is your web application. And I will show you in the previous tutorial. I think it's in the tutorial Part 2. And I will show you how to make a request to the database and get a response from the database by using this CRUD command and using this npg CRUD library. The problem is when next time you create another application, for example, the mobile application, you want to fetch data from the same database, you got to rewrite again this CRUD command. So this is not the ideal way. There's a better way to do this using this API. By using this API, you can use the Java application or desktop application or mobile application to reuse this API by using this HttpClient. And this API will communicate with this database by using this HttpGet and HttpPost. And this HttpClient, Get, and Post will be the main subject in this tutorial. So the first thing I will show you is how to create this API by starting by create this project model. And we need to create this DbContext. As I told you before, there is the bridge between your application and the database. For example, in our model, we are assign this property ID, title, owner, and due date. Put into the DbContext. After that, we use this migration to create this table with this column or this ID, title, owner, and due date into our database. And this database, we're going to generate this project, and with this column of ID, title, owner, and the due date as well inside this module. And next, I will show you how to create this service and create a controller. After that, I will also show you how to create this web application to communicate with this API. So you need to create the same project model as inside this API. And after that, you need to create a controller inside this web application for the user to input this data into this model. And then inside this controller or the API, we also will assign this model or this API to the model or this web application. And we're going to use this HttpClient to push this data that input by this user into this model or API. On the controller, we're going to use this HttpPost and pass through this service and create the data or update the data into the database. And after that, I will also show you how to use this controller by using this HttpGet to get the data from the database and to generate this JSON file. Then the web application will use this HttpClient again to display this JSON file into the view or this web application and display this table data content to the user. So this is the basic or the flow or the API in between the web application and the database. And this is the thing that I'm going to show you in this tutorial. So let's go into this demo. So first, let's start our Visual Studio. I will start by creating a new project and show you step by step how to create this API and the web application to communicate with this API, and to show you how this API can communicate with the database. So just as before, create a new project and select this ASP.NET Core Web Application. And just give a name to it, and I will call this one project API, so I will know that this is the API system. Next, last time we select this time I want you to select this for APIs. And this your API system. Under this property, we have this round setting.json file. Right now, this round setting.json file. And under this profiles IIS Express rounds URL, we have this weather forecast. Every time when we start this API, it will going to start this weather forecast controller. For this tutorial, we are going to create our own model. We're not going to use this weather forecast model here. So we're going to delete this weather forecast model. And I want to delete out this weather forecast controller as well. And let's create our API first. After that, we need to change this setting over here. So first, I want you to install two packages. We need this entity framework crawl for us to run this migration to create a database. And we also need this MVC CRUD.entity framework crawl PostgreSQL. We can right click on this dependency and select this manage nugget packets. And here we just type this one entity framework CRUD 2 and select the latest version, and from here you just select the latest version and click on this install button. Click access all this license, and now you have this package installed inside your dependency. Next we need another package called this MPG SQL entity framework CRUD PostgreSQL. Just install it, and now you already installed both of them, so you can close this window. So next step is to create the model. Add the project name, right click, select add, and select this new folder and name this one models. And inside here we need a model file. Add a class and name this class project. And here we need some property for our table column. So to create this property, you can type PR or P and press this tab 2 times. And you can change this name to the ID. If you want to use this ID as the primary key, you need to put the model name in front of it, like this project ID. So the system will know that this will going to be your primary key in the table or the database. So next, same with type pro and tab 2 times, and this time I want it to be a string, and this is going to be our title. And you need to let the system know that this is the column with the type name, character variant, and with this this one you can just set 50, so the user cannot type the title more than the 50 character. And you had an error here, so you just hover your mouse over here and click on this bar and select this using system component model data annotation schema. We need another 2 column property for the table column, so just copy and paste 2 times and change this title to the I need owner, the project owner, and the project due date. And this one I just set it to about 20. I forgot to close this. So this is the model of the project. So next, we need to create a DbContext. So inside this model, so you just right click again and select add and select this class, and you name this one project DbContext. And this one is to let your API communicate with this database. So you need to inherit this class to the DbContext, and you need to use this Microsoft Entity Framework class library. And then we need to create a constructor for this class. So to create a constructor, you can type CT or and press this tab 2 times. And next, you need to assign this DbContext option and put in our DbContext name. It's a project DbContext, and assign a name. Just call it option. You can call it any name you like, and you need to derive it to the base class. I need to put the same name as this one. That's all for this constructor. Next, we need to use this dbset to create to assign a name for this table inside this database. So we use this dbset and pass in this our model. Our model is our project. So it means we're going to pass this property into this dbset with the table name or project, so that when we run this migration, the migration we're going to create a table with the name of project, and the column of the table follow the property name inside this project model. That we need to let this API know about where is our server and the database. So we need to do the setting inside this app setting.json file. I think I will show you how to do this setting inside here in the last video. So you just assign this connection string and give a reference name. You can name this one, I think you write, but I will going to name this one DbContext connection, and followed by our server and the database information. But this one only set this information into this DbContext connection reference name. We need to let this system know about this information. We need to do some setting inside this startup here. So we need to create a object, a public object with a type string. You can call it anything, but here I'm going to call it a connection string and get the set. And without this configuration, you can use this configuration to get the information inside this app setting. So I want to pass this information into our connection string object. So I set the connection string equal to the configuration get connection string, and pass in this reference name or this DbContext inside here. Get connection string. After you create this, next you need to add a service over here under this configure service. And you need to use this model so that it will know that we are using this project DbContext from this model folder. And this option is the one that we had assigned inside here. This option, and this we're going to use the library HttpGet and pass in this connection string into here. We need to use this library to use this MVC, and don't forget this semicolon. Okay, after this service, now we can start to create this migration. To create migration, you can click on this using this manager console over here. This package manager console doesn't appear over here. You can select these tools and choose this Nugget package manager, and you have this package manager console over here. Click on it and just type in this add migration, and followed by the name for this migration. You can type something that's meaningful, or just say this version 1. I think I already showed you how to create this migration as well in the last video. Now this migration already created for you, and you can see it inside this migration file is a B1 here. You write down that create this table with the name of this project, which is from our DB set inside this DbContext project DbContext over here. This will be your name of your table, and you are going to use this property inside this model project model here to set the column of the table. For example, this as you can see, the column of the table is will be the project ID as the primary key, and this title, owner, and the due date. So next, let type this object database. Press the enter key. You're going to create this table for you. There's some error over here. I think there has some typo data without this A. Let's go to our this app setting JSON file, and you can see I have some typo error over here. So database, and there's another error inside this inside our project model here. I forgot to put that one over here. Is time inside this our migration here. Made a chain over here and run against our database, and now this time we have successfully create this table inside the database. So let's check inside our database and refresh this table here, and you can see that we have created this project table with all this column, and you can check the data. now we don't have any data here inside our table. So let's go back to this Visual Studio. So we have already created this table. So next we need to start to create our service. We already out to do this migration step. So next create this service to let this controller to use this HttpGet and HttpPost to request and the data from the database. In this project name, we create another folder and name this folder service. And inside this service, I want you to create a class. Let's name this class project service. And inside here, I want to create 4 methods. One is called the app project to add data into the database, and another one is to get all project. This one we're going to get all the data in the database table. And another one is a get project by ID. Get the data of the particular ID inside the table. And I want to update project by ID. And the last one is to delete project by ID. Let's create our project DbContext. So we need to pass in this, we need to use scene project API models. And just name this one as context. And I need to create a constructor so we can pass this information from this project DbContext into our local underscore context. So to create this constructor, we type ctrl tab 2 times, and here we just pass in this project DbContext. You can just name this context, and here we just pass this context into our underscore context in this way. So this one had to be inside this class, not outside the class. So all these things had to be inside the class for this project service. So first thing, I want to create this get the data from the project first. We're going to use this list. This list we're going to contain the object from our project model. We're going to name this one get all projects. And I'm going to return. So we can try to test this one, but before that we need to clear a controller. So inside this controller, you need to add a controller. Just create an empty controller. Just name this project controller. But in the API, it's better for us to use the base class or controller base rather than the controller. And we can take away this index. And to use this project service in our controller, we need to create a local object for this project service. I'm going to name this one underscore project service. And you need to pass in this project service. Another S. And you need to pass in this project API service. After you create this object, you need to create a constructor ctrl test and pass in this project service into our constructor. After we have this project service, next let's create a HttpGet. And I'm going to name this get all projects and create a action method get all project. We can get all project from our this project service, and we're going to return OK and pass in all project. To let this system to run this API control, we need to create a route and pass in the address. I call it APIs, and inside here you just put in controller. It will be your controller name, and you need to put in this AP controller. This is the way how you create this controller in the API. So as I told you just now, you need to edit this round setting over here. We need to change this one to AP, followed by our controller name is the project. You want to run this method as a default, you need to copy this and put it inside here. Let us try to run this. We haven't add the service inside this our startup file, so we have this error over here. So let's go back to our Visual Studio and let's go open up this startup class. And under this configure service, we need to add another service called the add transaction, and we need to pass in the project service so that we can use this service inside this our API project service. And we need to use this API service folder. Let us run again this system. We will have this empty data because we don't have the data inside our database. So let's put in some data into our table here and click on this update. And now we did already save successfully. And let's go back here and reload this again, and you can see we have this data from our database. This is how the API fetch the data from our database table. Let's go to this our project service here. You can simplify this one by take out all of this and just put in this error, and next get the project by ID. So this side you don't need the list because we only have some data, so you just direct type in this project the model, and we can name this one get project by ID. And you need to pass in the ID. I just go into project ID, and you can use this error. After that, you need to type in first or default rather than the to list, and then inside here you type and don't forget this semicolon. I think that's all. So now let's go back to this project controller. We need to create another HttpGet, and we need to give a name. This time I will call it a get project by ID, and followed by the ID provided by the user. And I'm going to create a method. And you need to pass in this parameter or this ID. So this time you use this pass in ID, so you can pass in this ID into it, and send it the one here. Return this OK, and project inside here. Return. Okay. Let create another data. Save. Go back to here and run the system. And you can see that we had the data 1 and the data 2 here. For example, if now I change this address to get project by ID slash, let's say I want to get the data with the ID 2, and you can see it will just return this data or this project ID 2. You change this one to 1, it will provide you this data 1. So this how we use this HttpGet to get the data from the database by this API. Next, I will going to create this how to update this, how to add a project and update the project and delete project. But to do this, I need to create a web application to make the demo. Maybe we can just type in complete this all this service first before we start to create our web application. Maybe I just put this one below. So this two is for the get, and the following three is for the post, HttpPost. And to add the data, we're going to return nothing because we just push the data into the database and return nothing. just name it add project, and I'm going to use this project model and just name this project under block project equal to the new project, so that we can use the object inside this project model. For example, title. So now we're going to set this title, we're going to equal to the project dot title, and next we have this owner. Then that's all. Don't forget the semicolon. Next we need to say this contact dot this project send at the one that in this gap here, project dot, but this time we're going to use add because we want to add the data into this database. So just pass in underscore project. And finally, we need to set the chain. I think that's all for this add data to the database. And next, we need to update the projects by ID. And this time, we need to pass in the two parameter. One is the project ID, and another one is the project, or just write in the other way. Project, and another one is the integer, and just write this one project ID. And then we're going to create a project. We need to check whether the ID that provided by the user had the data inside this database table. So we need to check the existing of the data by using this underscore project here. So we use this first or default. This one just send at the one that we get inside this one, get project by ID. So you can copy all this and then paste over here. We still need this. We can find the data. We can find the data. It means that this underscore project will not equal to null. If we can find the data, then we can set this project title will equal to the project dot title. You can write in this way or this way. It's the same. For example, if you don't want to write in this way, you can direct the type this one over here. You can comment out this one by pressing Ctrl+K+C. And sorry, let's go back to here. Next, we need to return this project. That's all. This one is for updating the data. And next, we need to delete the project by ID. Same as before, we need to check whether we had this whether this ID exists or have the data or not. If you have the data, then context dot project remove. What I'm going to remove? We're going to remove this project, this data, and we need to set the chain. Then we also need to set the chain in this over here inside this update project by ID. That's all in for the setting inside our project service. You can get download all this code or this tutorial below this title or the video. I provide a link under this video. Next, we go back to our project controller. So we also need to do the setting to call the service, this project service inside this controller, HttpPost, and I'm going to call this add project. And same as before, we use this action result add project, and use this project model and project. So now we can call this our service add project and pass in the data that's provided by the user, and just return okay. That's all. Next, we need to update the table. I could call this one update project by ID, and we need to provide the ID, public, and use this result, and call this one update project by ID. Then we need to provide this project object. We need to provide the data that's provided by the user, and with this ID, create a object called update project, and let's call our project service and use this update project by ID, and we need to provide this project data and with this ID. Finally, we just return OK, and with this update project. That's all for this update project by ID. And next is the HttpPost. For delete project by ID, and we need to provide the ID as well. To delete the data, we only need the ID provided by the user, and just call our project service delete project by ID, and then put in this ID into this parameter or this and just return OK. I think that's all. We already complete all the setting, all the configuration. We already finished all the coding it's for our API system. So let's run again to check whether I got any error or not. Now our API is running without any problems. Now we can start to create our web application to communicate with this API system. And that's all for today. And in the next tutorial, I will going to show you how to create this web application, something like the one that I show you on the screen here. And we're going to show you how to use this HttpClient to communicate with this API to fetch the data or the database and get the response back into our web application and display all the data inside this table here. And you can amend this data by clicking on the table here and change the content, and it will update your data. And all these things are done with this API. And see you again in the next tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe so you will get a notice after I complete this web application tutorial. And for all the code that I have done in this demo, you can download it below this video. So again, thank you and bye.